There you are, sleepyhead. I was hoping I'd get a chance to see you soon. I'm really sorry that I left before you woke up, but I had a new idea and I just could not resist writing it down. It's an idea for a new experiment, you see, and I think it might be safe enough that you could assist. I know that you always enjoy helping me. What do you say? Feel up for it? I beg your pardon? You don't think that you can assist with this? Well, you don't even know what it is yet. There aren't any explosions or sharp objects involved. You could easily assist. It isn't that? Well, if Levi expects you to do chores, I can always talk with him. I know he isn't fond of my obsession with experimentation, but he knows how important it is for you and I to spend time together. He always does his best to avoid getting between us. I'm sure that if we discuss it with him... It isn't a scheduling issue either? Then what is it? You what? No, I'm not. Sweetheart, I am not mad at you. I would never, ever be able to forgive myself if I got mad at you for having interests that differ from mine, or if your interests suddenly changed and you no longer had an interest in experiments. I could never, ever be mad at you for that. But I hope that you can understand my shock and slight concern, honestly. You have always seemed to love spending time with me like this. You've always begged me to let you help with experiments that were a bit riskier. And I always hated having to say no to you. I hated it so much. Why do you think I taught you to read using reports from those experiments? I wanted you to still be involved, and you wanted so badly to know what had happened. I'm not mad, but I would like an explanation. This just seems so out of the blue. Is something wrong? Sweetheart, I know that we often try to avoid serious topics of conversation. After all, in this line of work, there's so much that we just don't want to discuss. So much we don't want to remember. And for good reason, of course. The things that we face are horrific. But if something is wrong with you, if something bad is happening to you, I want to know about it. I can try to find a way to help you. If you'll let me, of course. I'm sorry. What? You think that if you tell me, I'll stop loving you? I am your parent. I love you unconditionally. And no matter what is happening to you, no matter what is wrong, that isn't going to change. Please trust me on that. I have loved you since the day you were born. I will love you until the day I die, and probably well after that. Please tell me what's going on. I want to help you. I want to be here for you, just like I should be. I love you. Tell me what is wrong. You've been doing a lot of thinking recently? Well, that's certainly good. I always raised you to be a thinker. What exactly have you been thinking about? You've been thinking about who you are. What exactly do you mean by that? Yes, I remember those lessons that I gave you very well. You were rather horrified after them, and you couldn't look me in the eye, and Levi was very concerned when he walked in on a few of those lessons. But I believe that you were rather grateful for those lessons after a while. You said that they really helped you. They really helped you start thinking about the kind of person you might be in the future. The kind of life that you might lead. Any relationships with others that you might have. I don't mean to jump to conclusions and assume things, but are you saying what I think you're saying? What I think you're saying is that you're starting to question your gender identity and or your sexuality. Would that assumption be correct? Sweetheart, I'm not trying to smile or laugh at you in a negative way. It's just, you were really nervous to tell me this? You were afraid that I wouldn't love you because of this? I raised you to know that I would always love you no matter whom you love and no matter how you identify. And considering the people we live with, I'm surprised that you would think I wouldn't love you for this. After all, Levi, I'm fairly certain, is attracted to men, maybe women too, but definitely men. And look at me. I use they-them pronouns. I don't place much value on my gender, so I simply don't really have one. I could never, ever stop loving you for something like this. I have supported this community ever since I learned what it was about, and I've been a part of it for all of my life. I could never, ever stop loving you over being a part of this. I know that it's still a bit nerve-wracking to talk to a parent about something so personal, but really, I will never ever stop loving you for this. That being said, I don't exactly know what this is. I made an assumption, but we didn't get into many details after that. Are you questioning your gender identity, your sexuality, or both? I see. You started questioning one, and then once you started doing that, you started questioning the other as well. That is perfectly understandable. That does tend to happen. Usually once you start questioning something about yourself, you need to question other aspects of who you are. Even if everything remains the same, it is good to truly look inward and see what you feel most comfortable with. Are you really comfortable with the way that things have always been, or would you feel better if something changed? So there is absolutely nothing wrong with questioning both, and considering it will help you be more comfortable with who you are in the long run, it is certainly a very good thing to get out of the way now. So tell me, which did you start questioning first? All right. And could you tell me what exactly caused you to start questioning that? I see. And are you experiencing any confusion about how you identify in that regard? A little bit. Are you confused by your own feelings about certain things, or are you confused by the terms themselves? What do I mean by that? Well, things like this, sexuality and gender identity, they can be rather confusing. There are a lot of similar terms with similar definitions, so it is very easy to get overwhelmed and confused by all of it. For instance, with sexuality, let's use bisexual, pansexual, and omnisexual. Based on the definitions that I have seen, bisexuality describes attraction to two or more genders. Pansexuality describes being attracted to all genders equally, meaning that if you are pansexual, you are automatically bisexual. However, you are not automatically pansexual if you're bisexual. Does that make sense so far? That's very good. Now, omnisexual refers to someone who is attracted to two or more genders, however, they have a preference for one gender over the others. Yes, for example, if someone is omnisexual, they might like both men and women, but they might prefer women over men. Yes, it is perfectly all right to have a preference. Yes, there are some other similar terms when it comes to gender identity. For example, demigirl, demiboy, and non-binary. Now, a non-binary individual tends to use they-them pronouns. However, at the same time, they could also identify as non-binary and use he, him, she, her, or a mixture of pronouns. Yes, it can be a bit complicated at times, especially if you're trying to figure out how you identify. If you think that you might be non-binary, but you identify with certain pronouns that don't seem to match, that can definitely be confusing. And then with demigirl and demiboy, typically a demigirl will use she, they pronouns. From my experience with it, it seems to be an identity that falls between being non-binary and being female. And it's similar for a demiboy, where they will use, typically, he, they pronouns. Yes, it certainly is a lot to take in. And if you're only just now discovering the intricacies of all of it while trying to figure out your own identity, oh boy, prepare to be confused and overwhelmed by a lot of it. Believe me. But I do want to assure you, before we dive any deeper into all of this, that no matter whom you love, no matter how you identify, I will always love you. As long as you are happy and any partners you might have are happy and consenting to the relationship, that is all I care about. The label that you choose to present yourself with is just that, a label. And that can change at any time, and again, as long as you're happy with it, that is all that matters. No matter what anyone else thinks of you, do not ever forget that. Your happiness comes first to me. Absolutely not. No one here would ever pass any negative judgment against you for how you identify. Don't get me wrong, Levi may come across as indifferent or uncaring, but he does support all of this. Don't worry about that. Other people? Well, this world is full of people who are just full of hate. People who just cannot accept anyone who is different from them. Yes, such as the wall cult. They definitely aren't accepting of people like us. But you know what? What do we always say about them? Exactly. They wouldn't need to carry those big books around if they had brains themselves. So don't listen to them. They are not worth your time. They are not worth a single thought from your head. All right? The people who care about you, the people who are around you, every day, supporting you, those are the only people who matter in this case. So just focus on the fact that we all love you no matter what. Because really, we will. We will always, always love you. Yes, even Levi. And even though he does a terrible job of showing it, I think that he might actually consider himself to be an unofficial uncle to you. So he definitely cares about you. Just like I do. I know. I know that this is all still so confusing. So I am going to put together a list of books for you, and I want you to spend the day in the library just reading as much as you can. I really want to do everything that I can to help you, but I'm afraid that my research does have to come first sometimes. Oh? You don't think you want to spend the day reading? Well, then what do you... You want to help me make scientific history? Then grab your safety goggles and meet me outside, sweetheart.